What a place, I agree.
You want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. We're with news now from Fox. Basically, it's a streaming service. 17 stations across the country
Right.
are watching this live right now. I want to talk to you about a host of issues that are critical. Let's begin with the Supreme Court. You've made it very clear that you would like a woman to fill that spot. We know that just moments ago, Mitt Romney says he will support holding a vote this year. Does that tip the scale for you to be a little more hopeful about this happening this year?
Well, I'm more than hopeful. I think it's going to happen. We have great people. We haven't made the final determination. I haven't, but I will be soon. But we have fantastic, very talented, very brilliant people. And we'll make a decision by Saturday. I'm going to announce it on Saturday. And I think everybody's going to be very happy.
You know, we have a couple names that have been spinning around this town for some time now. Amy Coney Barrett,
Right.
I know he was vetted by you years ago.
Sure.
Then Barbara Lagoa seems like an attractive choice, given the fact that she's a Latino
Sure.
from Florida, doing her work there, and her personality is feisty like yours.
Yeah. Well, she's terrific. And you have Judge Larson, you know Judge Larson, who's very talented also, and a lot of great people. We have, really, I have 45 great people if you look at it, but I thought a woman would be very important right now for the Supreme Court, so I'll be choosing a woman.
When we take a look at how quickly this can happen, we understand that this usually takes 2 to 3 months to happen. According to the Congressional Research Service, they say that 70 days is usually the par for the course. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, no, it's moving along, but we have a lot of time. We have nothing but time, especially since we have the support. You know, we have senatorial support. People have come out, and I guess we have all the votes we're going to need. They're going to be very happy with the candidate. They know most of the candidates anyway. I think they know maybe all of the candidates. And we have great support. Great support from the people also.
Have you made a decision and you're just going to reveal it on Saturday? Or are you
I would
still
say that I'm
deciding?
very close to making a decision in my own mind, and I'm going to reveal it on Saturday. And I'm doing that out of respect for Justice Ginsburg. You're having a service on Thursday, so I didn't really want to do anything to cut into the service. And we have a lot of time.
You know, one thing that time has a lot to do with is this coronavirus and the response, of course. You've talked already a lot about what's happened in the past. Let's talk about the future. Dr. Peter Hotez is with Baylor College of Medicine. He says we may be in for a very apocalyptic fall. When you hear that, he says also that we force schools to go back into high-risk areas and colleges to go back. Was this too much, too soon?
Well, I don't know who he is, but I disagree with him. I think we've done an amazing job. They're having a spike in Europe now, as you know, and we were always compared to Europe, and we've done very well compared to Europe. When you look at our numbers compared to Europe, but now they have a spike, and hopefully that'll go away soon. We're all working together. It's a terrible thing. I made a very strong speech today, as you know, to the United Nations, and putting the blame on China, which everybody understands that's the blame. They could have stopped it. They could have stopped it from coming out of China. They stopped it from going in further into China, but they didn't stop it from spreading all throughout the world, including us. And so I'm very angry about that. But no, we're doing very well with it. We're doing extremely well, relatively speaking. If I wouldn't have closed down, we could have had 2 million deaths right now, 2.5 million. We shouldn't have any because of what China did, but we would have had 2 million as opposed to 200,000. We would have had 2 million, 2.5 million, 3 million. We could have had a tremendous number of deaths.
I talked to the CEO of Ford Motor Company in a sit-down much like this, and he said that he wished that the country had shut down even 2 to 3 weeks beforehand. He thinks that would have made a huge difference.
Well, nobody really thought to do that. You know, I could say to him, I wish you designed a little bit of a different car. It could have made a big difference. Nobody told me to do that. In fact, when I shut down, if you remember, everybody said there's no reason to shut down, including Dr. Fauci. Everybody said there's no reason to shut down. When I shut down, it was considered very early. So it's easy to look back now and say, gee, I wish we would have shut down 2 weeks early. I wish China would have shut down 2 weeks early. I wish China wouldn't have let this virus come out. They're the ones to blame. We've done an incredible job between the ventilators and now the vaccines and everything else and the therapeutics. And you look at our numbers, we've done a tremendous job. The only thing we've done a bad job in is public relations, because we haven't been able to convince people, which is basically the fake news, what a great job we've done. Other countries come to see me, the presidents, the prime ministers, they say, You have done an incredible job. This is a big country, very big, and we report everything. Other countries don't report. They don't report their numbers, obviously. You know, you talk about China and various other countries, but we have done an incredible job, and we're doing an incredible job, and we will be, in my opinion, we're rounding the turn.
You know, your opponent, Joe Biden, says that if he were president, he would have done one big thing differently, which was to enact the Defense Production Act almost immediately.
Joe Biden's incompetent. And Joe Biden, if you look at what he did with the swine flu, it was a disaster. And his own people, his own person who was in charge of it said, no, we really made mistakes. It was a disaster. We handled it horribly. I don't even know. It's hard to believe that he actually said this, but he said this 2 years ago. He said this. He made a statement that they handled it horribly. He said they didn't know what they were doing. They had no clue. And that was a much less lethal problem than this. This is lethal. That was a much less lethal problem. And Joe Biden wouldn't have done anything. He didn't want me to do the ban. He said, oh, don't ban, don't ban. And then he apologized for it later on. And then he goes around and second guesses. All he can do is second guess. There's a terrible situation for the world. The world is suffering with it. UK just shut down again. They just announced that they're going to do a shutdown. And we're not going to be doing that. We understand the disease. We understand how to handle it. Our hospitals are very low now in terms of the number of patients, which is a great thing. We have tremendous capacity, and we are making the turn. But Joe doesn't have a clue, and Joe would not have been able to do a good job. You wouldn't have ventilators if Joe was there. There's no way he would have had ventilators or anything else. And when Joe makes these statements, just ask him to look at the swine flu, which was a total disaster, according to his person that handled it. And everybody knew it at the time. Now all of a sudden he's supposed to be some smart guy that comes in and he would solve a much more difficult situation. Wouldn't have happened. 47 years of failure.
One thing that we can do right now is mask up. You have said in the past that it's the patriotic duty to mask up when you can't maintain social distancing and it's not safe. We've been to a few of the rallies. I was in Freeland, Michigan, and also in Macomb County with your son. People were out there almost celebrating the fact that they didn't have to wear a mask. That's not responsible.
Well, I didn't see that. You know, I didn't know they were celebrating. I come and I make a speech, and we had a great time there, actually, in Michigan. And we've done a great job in Michigan with all the factories, car factories and plants that are opening and expanding. And we've done a great job for Michigan. No, I didn't see that. No, I think people should wear a mask if they can, if they feel they should. But I don't think it should be a mandatory policy. Actually, that would be really up to the governors, more so than the president. But I'm fine with masks. I've worn masks when I go into hospitals, when I go into certain areas, I wear masks. Masks are fine with me.
But when you look out into the audience, when you're doing these rallies and you see the number of people who don't have masks, does that concern you about the future in this fall?
Yeah, I must be honest. I see a lot of people with masks. I also see a little bit of a spreading out. One of the reasons I do the rallies in outside settings is because it's much better. It's, you know, recommended. I don't know if they know what they're recommending, but they recommend being outside, like we're outside right now. They say be outside. So what we're doing is these rallies outside. You know, we're doing at airports and hangars, and we're getting tremendous 25, 30,000 people at every rally. It's amazing. I'll tell you, we have more enthusiasm now than we had even 4 years ago, and that we broke the record 4 years ago, but this is even more so. It's been quite amazing, actually.
Let's talk for a moment about the civil unrest. 17 stations in major cities watching this right now. Reverend Charles Williams of Detroit asked a question to you, saying, Mr. President, your slogan is to make America great again. He says many black Americans are concerned that this country's ability to truly deal with racism has never been great. Do you recognize that systemic racism that occurs and exists in this country?
Well, there's something going on, but nobody has done more for the black community than me since at least Abraham Lincoln. Historically, black colleges and universities, you know what happened there. They were not funded. They were not going to be funded. It was a disaster. I got them funded for a 10-year period and more money than they were even asking for. If you look at opportunity zones, which have been tremendous for the black community and the Hispanic community, unbelievable. And of course, the big one is I got criminal justice reform, which President Obama tried to get, he couldn't get. Nobody could get it, and I got it. What I've done is incredible. I also got prison reform. So nobody, and I say it openly, and I'm not even criticized for it. Nobody has done more for the black community than any president I would say with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. And people sort of say, I guess he's right about that.
And this reverend actually recognized all those things with
Well, that's
HBCUs and also with what you've done with criminal justice
That's
reform.
very nice.
The question that we have, though, when you take a look at those people who are rioting out there, you've been very clear that we need law and order, and you've called out those rioters by name. Would you right now talk a little bit about those peaceful protesters who are out there? What is your message to them, the ones who are not breaking the law, who simply think there's a big problem out
Well,
there?
you do have peaceful, but a lot of times the peaceful ones get a little bit crazy because they're led by Antifa and others that are professionals that get paid a lot of money, that have money, and they're led. And then you'll have a Portland where you have anarchists. I mean, you have agitators, anarchists, and we could put that down very easily, and we do. The Republican states and cities, look how well they're doing. The Republican cities and states are doing phenomenally right now.
Detroit's doing quite well under a Democratic mayor with Chief James Craig.
And
as
you
know.
have a great police chief. I watch him. I really like him a lot. Say hello to him. I think he's terrific. I think he's just an incredible representative too. He speaks so well about a very important subject, which is crime and the rioting and all the things that you see in certain cities. Don't forget, you see these cities, and they're Democrat cities. They're usually run liberally, liberal Democrats, or even further left than that. They call them radical left. But Portland could be, we could close down Portland and the problem in Portland in 30 minutes. But they don't want us to bring in the National Guard. The governor doesn't want. We've offered it many times. Chicago is a terrible situation, Democrat. Look what happened to New York with the crime bursting, Democrat. It's all Democrats. It's all Democrats that don't have any idea of law and order, and they never want to mention the words.
But your message to the peaceful protesters in those mixes who think there's an institutional racial issue in this country, what would you like them to
Well,
do?
I don't know what they think. I know that if they're peaceful, let them be peaceful. And I'm all for protest, but it has to be peaceful protest. And once they start ripping down storefronts and looting and everything else, that's no longer a peaceful protest.
Mr. President, thank you for your time today.
Thank you
we
very
really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.